And away we go.
Right, so how was today?
Famoso.
What's today mean?
Famoso.
I don't know what that means.
Neither do I.
Okay, so what's in the news today?
Alright, so the Oscars.
Oh yeah, that already happened.
Yep, it sure has.
Oh, got you. So, is there anything big that happened at the Oscars, like the Chris Brown, Will Smith thing? I don't know how I got Chris Brown from that, but actually no, I can kind of see how I got that from that. But still, like the Will Smith thing, or was it just like any other award show?
It's just a regular award show.
Was there anything like satanic that happened, or just what about it?
Nothing like that happened, I believe.
Well, I wouldn't really know what happened. I don't really watch the Oscars
Neither do
because
I.
um, it's just a night that it's just a night that glorifies celebrities, and I don't care. And I don't really care for that, really. It's not gonna lie. I think if you really hold on, this minute, pretty much, I think if you just have nothing to do with your time, then yes, you would watch the Oscars. Or if you're just desperate to watch something that that potentially seems entertaining, you'll watch the Oscars. But I don't think anything interesting really comes from the Oscars, so I don't watch it. Plus, I don't think I've ever really watched the Oscars. Actually, have you? Okay, yeah, me neither. But yeah, so nothing interesting really happened at the Oscars. Okay, let's talk about who got nominated or who won or whatever award.
Well, I haven't looked into the categories, because that's how much I don't know much, although I watched the Oscars. However, there is one movie in particular that is making the rounds on social media.
What movie is that?
So there was a movie that won an Oscar. It's called, I think, something along the lines of The Other Land. It
What?
was directed by a Palestinian and an Israeli, and something that I've noticed, and by the comments as well, that once The Other Land did win the Oscar, the two directors, the Palestinian and Israeli, that got up, there was, of course, there's a moment between them getting up from the seats and heading onto the stage to collect their Oscar, and not many people that were there stood up. Well, there were a few that most of them did clap, but they didn't stand up when it was announced that movie won the Oscar.
Was it because they're both Palestinian and is Israel? Like was it because one of them was from Palestine, and one of them was from Israel?
Well, that's one way to look at it.
I
Uh,
mean,
I
why
mean,
do they have
it,
to? Bro, who cares? Why do they have to highlight specifically that this was a Palestinian and this was an Israeli? Who cares?
yeah, fair
It's a,
enough.
it's a movie. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Do you highlight a producer for being black, or do you like just say that this was a good movie? Do you highlight a producer for being white, or do you just say this was a great movie and just congratulate the person? Who I don't care if they were Palestinian. I can't even say the word Palestinian or an Israeli. I don't care. I really don't. It's a movie.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
As long as it's good, who cares? Who made it?
Exactly.
It's like, I just don't care. Like, I'm a little. This conversation is getting a bit like this whole conversation in the media is getting a bit boring. Actually, like, bro, who cares? You're Jewish. You're Palestinian. Now I can say it right. Who cares? I don't. And there's probably a reason why half those people didn't get up. They probably didn't want to take a. They probably didn't want to seem like they were taking a side to protect their most likely deflating careers. Most of their careers are deflating. Most of their careers are deflating, and they have to probably do some other humiliation ritual in order to stay relevant.
Yeah, can't
And bro,
argue with that.
who cares? This conversation is honestly getting a little repetitive, but
Yeah.
yeah, for the most part. So is there anybody else who won?
Uh, no, that's all I've heard about the Oscars.
Alright. Well, there's nothing interesting happened at it then.
Yeah, it's disabled every year, usual award show stuff that goes on like it always does.
Yeah, Yeah, that's probably true. But is there anything else in the news?
TSMC CEO to announce new $100 billion US investment plans.
Is there more on that?
Yes, the investment by TSMC, the world's largest chip maker, aims to bolster US semiconductor production over the next 4 years.
Cool. Don't really know what that's supposed to mean, but cool.
It's pretty much the reason why our computers and technology operate the way they do, and as well as the speeds that they can process and download and upload files and data and whatnot.
Okay, got you. So pretty much it's responsible for the internet.
Yes, for the most part.
Okay. Understood. Congrats. I don't really know what to say.
Well,
Congrats.
at least,
What are you?
well, all I can say is, so long as production is still flowing and technology continues to improve, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's whatever. It's whatever for me. I'm gonna be honest.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but is there anything else in the news?
Shares of Singapore property giant slump amid father-son battle for control.
Is there more on this story?
Yes, a high-stakes father and son feud has plunged Singapore property giant City Developments Limited into turmoil, with the private boardroom dispute of one of the city-state's wealthiest families erupting into public view this week.
Interesting. What are they feuding about? I wonder.
See what Forbes has to say about this. I don't want the cookies. City Developments Limited lost its spot as the most valuable publicly traded property developer in Singapore as shares tumbled when trading resumed Monday following a 3-day halt amid a boardroom battle for control of the company. Despite assurance from CDL that quote-unquote business operations remain fully functional and unaffected, unquote, by the ongoing dispute between executive chairman Kwek Lang Beng and his son, Sherman Kwek, the company's CEO, the stock slumped as much as 7% in the morning, touching the lowest level since March 2009.
So everything is still going the way it is, but it's just decreasing.
Yes, it's the only company that revolves around properties in Singapore, so of course it's still going. There's no other options in the nation as it stands.
Yeah, seems like it. I mean, I hope things improve. That's all I'm gonna say. I hope things improve as time goes on, but that's really all I can say. I mean, what can you really do? You just resolve your problems and then get back to work.
Exactly.
That's all you can do. But, uh,
Exactly.
yeah, what else is in the news?
Anti-Amazon protesters in Montreal rally once again for boycott demonstrations.
There are anti-Amazon protests going on.
Yes, anti-Amazon protesters rallied in downtown Montreal, demanding a boycott of the company after it decided to shutter its Quebec warehouses in January.
If it costs people their jobs, I can understand. But I don't necessarily think the protest is going to be successful. And I'm also going to go on the record and say that these people who are protesting most likely still shop on Amazon. So that's all I really got to say about that. What are your thoughts?
Well, whatever happens, if you go against a big multi-billion-dollar corporation, it's barely going to do diddly squat about it.
Yeah, they're billion-dollar corporation. Of course they're not gonna do anything.
Yeah, and no matter how big the protests or the scale of the protest in question, it does so little against a company's profits.
That's true. It really does do little, against the company's profits. I mean, like, even if you got, I mean, this is probably the only highlight of the protest that got news recognition, but that's it. I mean, if no one is really on board to help you, what use is that going to be? I mean, but this will die down within probably a month or so. Who knows? So is there anything? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. So is there anything else in the news?
tobacco giant Philip Morris might sell its cigar business as it works towards a smoke-free future.
A smoke-free future.
Uh-huh.
Tobacco business. How come it wants to do that now?
Let's see what Sherwood has to say about that. As an add-on, when it acquired Zyn, spelled Z-Y-N, maker Swedish match to focus on smoke-free products, seeing a rough 22% dip in cigar shipments since the takeover.
Well,
Indeed,
I will say this. It's a good thing that they are focusing less on smoke-free products. I mean, whatever keeps the people healthy, but ultimately speaking, the smokers aren't going to be too fond about that, but who cares? You know, they're $1 billion business. So they can at least, they can afford to take risks like these, and if it doesn't work out, they'll probably just go back to smoke products. I mean, shoot, it happened with, what's it say? What's it? Not Waffle House. What's that place's name that sells pancakes?
uh, IHOP?
Yes, IHOP. Yes, it happened with IHOP, where they tried to strictly only sell burgers, but I'm pretty sure they still do sell burgers. It's just,
I think remember that was an April Fool's joke at one point.
really?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
International House of Burgers. I remember at one point that was done as an April Fool's joke.
The whole company changed their name for an April Fool's joke?
Yes, from International House of Pancakes to International House of Burgers.
Did they actually sell burgers though?
I wouldn't know. I just heard that they did as an April Fool's joke at one point.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they sold burgers at one point though, because people were talking about
Exactly,
them.
yeah.
They probably still sell burgers. I've never been to IHOP. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's like, yeah, I've never really been to IHOP because I'm not constantly craving pancakes, but I like pancakes. I just not constantly craving them.
Yeah.
I did not think that was an April Fool's joke. I thought they tried something and it failed, so they just went back to what they were originally known for. But hey, it is what it is, and
And it was what it was.
exactly. So, is there anything else in the news?
Rower rescued days before completing Trans-Pacific feat.
Wait, hold on. Say that one more time.
Rower rescued days before completing Trans-Pacific feat.
Huh. Interesting. What are your thoughts on
First I'm hearing about this. Well, whoever is doing this feat, just rowing across the Pacific Ocean, that takes quite the dedication.
that?
Locust had been adrift for 3 days in the Coral Sea around 740 kilometers east of Mackay, Australia due to stormy conditions and 80 kilometers an hour winds from tropical cyclone Alfred.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yes,
So,
and the fact that they still survived too, that's wow.
yeah, it's definitely,
Honestly, I could never.
yeah, I'm pretty sure all of us could never really.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, it is what it is.
And it was what it was.
So, what else is in the news?
EU chief offers car makers more time on emission rules to avoid fines.
Say that one more time.
EU chief offers car makers more time on emission rules to avoid fines.
Interesting. Is there more on this story?
Yes, EU chief Ursula von der Leyen offered Monday to give struggling European car makers quote-unquote breathing space by allowing them extra time to meet 2025 emission reduction targets without facing fines.
Okay. Well, I do hope that they can pay it off in time, and so that they will not like, get fined at all.
Uh,
And
yeah,
yeah, that's really all I have to say. Hopefully they can pay it off in time so that they don't get fined.
yes.
But is there anything else in the news?
Piers Morgan returns to Good Morning Britain after almost 4 years.
Really?
Yeah,
How come you left the first time?
well, from what I recall, and it was a while back,
Wait, hold on. Before we get into this
go
story,
on.
man, this woman is fat. This man said, "This is all your fault, Vic. All you had to do was stuff her in the car." I don't know if he's joking or serious. I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
he's joking.
I have no idea at all.
I feel like he's joking. But hey, back to Piers Morgan.
Yes, so Piers Morgan has returned to Good Morning Britain after almost 4 years after he left ITV over controversial comments about the Duchess of Sussex. I thought Piers Morgan left because he just stormed out live during one morning on an episode, but now we know.
Yeah, I wasn't really familiar with that. He stormed out just out of nowhere.
At one point, yeah, at one point he did storm out, but hearing about what the reason was for him to leave, fair enough. I don't agree. I'm not going to argue with it, but hey, things happen for a reason. Just may as well move on with life.
Alright, so I mean, hey, regardless, Piers Morgan is back. They probably struck some type of deal, and yeah, it probably appealed to Piers Morgan, and that's why he's back. Or he just realized that time has passed, and well, he probably didn't want to hold a grudge, and yeah, that's all I got. That's really all I got. I mean, like he probably just didn't want to hold a grudge.
Yeah.
I mean, but what do you think?
So the the TV presenter stormed off the ITV morning program on March 8th, 2021, and subsequently left after saying he did not believe claims made by former Suits actress Meghan during her and Harry's explosive Oprah Winfrey interview, which became the most complained about show in Ofcom history.
Interesting, very interesting. Speaking of which, what does Piers Morgan been up to?
Well, not much. Well, other than interviewing people, and that's all I know him for, just interviewing people.
Yeah, honestly, same here. I mean, I watched some of his stuff, like, before. Um, I watched some of his stuff before. It was old stuff. I watched it. And, yeah, it was pretty good, but, couldn't suit me. I think this was around the time I just didn't have much to watch. So therefore, it's like I just watched stuff like that. But, yeah, Pierce is not bad. I mean, some of what he said is kind of dumb, but other than that, some of what he said is pretty dumb. But other stuff he says is pretty informative. He seems pretty neutral, but there are times when he's clearly on you know, one side.
Yeah,
But it is what it is at the end of the day.
and it was what it was.
Yeah. So, is there anything else in the news?
Greenpeace official discusses $300 million lawsuit filed against the organization.
How come? How come they're being sued? That
All
much
right,
money.
a $300 million lawsuit against Greenpeace filed by Energy Transfer is moving forward with opening statements happening this week. The company claims Greenpeace orchestrated process against the Dakota Access Pipeline, causing its financial harm.
Interesting. Well, here's what I'm gonna say. I mean, if they're in the wrong, then clearly I hope someone gets justice. If they're in the right, I hope they get what they need and what they deserve. That's pretty much all I gotta say about that. I mean, it can really go either way. You never really know. It can go either way. So therefore, it's like, it can go either way for certain people.
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah, but anyways, what else can I say? What else can I say? Yeah, I got nothing. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've heard a lot about Greenpeace advocating for protecting the environment. However, I will say this again, despite saying it many times. If people care about the environment, why don't they take action for themselves to make the environment a better place? Plant some trees, plant some flowers, make habitats for animals. You don't need to rely on massive organizations or federal national governments to do the job that you could do yourself.
That's true. That's true. Half these jobs we can legitimately just do ourselves. It's just it's just the fact of the matter is like, are you willing to do these jobs? I mean, instead of like getting upset, constantly upset about like, something that didn't happen to us or didn't happen to you, etc., etc., etc. I would say for the most part, you should really just take a long look to reflect to see if it's something that you want to entrust, if you want to entrust other people to do for you rather than you do it yourself. I mean, that's just really how it is. I mean, what else can you really do? If you believe that you can do it right, then do it right. I mean, if you believe that you can do it, like, better than like all of these other organizations, then do it. I mean, like, you don't really need to put your trust in an organization. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say here, and what I'm trying to imply. But is there anything else in the news?
Yeah, I got more on the story about the transatlantic crossing. Fierce storm ends Lithuanians rowers' dream of solo Pacific crossing.
Uh, can you say that again?
A fierce storm ends Lithuanian rowers' dream of solo Pacific crossing.
How strong was the storm?
Well, it was, well, strong enough, apparently.
Strong enough.
Yes.
Uh, okay. Regardless, I hope everyone is safe, and I hope people got out safely. And for the most part, I will say that like whatever the damages are, I hope that we can repair them quickly so that everyone can get back to normal and whatnot.
Yeah.
But furthermore, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's a great feat that he has achieved.
It is. So, is there anything else in the news?
President Donald Trump plans to pardon Pete Rose.
Who's Pete Rose?
From the pictures I'm seeing, he used to be a baseball player.
What was he in jail for?
Okay, so Rose was banned in 1989 from Major League Baseball and the Hall of Fame for sports betting.
Wait, hold on. He was. Say that one more time.
Rose was banned in 1989 from Major League Baseball and the Hall of Fame for sports betting.
Oh, for sports betting.
Yes.
That's all. I mean, it was probably a major deal back then, but it's probably not it. It's most likely not a major deal back right now. Wait, that's what he got. Wait, was he just banned, or is that what he also went to jail?
Let's see. So Rose both played and managed the Reds during that time, which was 85 to 87. The Hall of Fame Board of Directors ruled those appearing on baseball's permanently ineligible list may not appear on the Hall of Fame ballot. He admitted to the allegations in 2004.
Hold on, what allegation? I was none. That he was sports betting,
Yeah,
and that's what he went to jail for, just because he was betting.
well, it's not clear about him going to jail, but one thing for sure that because of sports betting, that's the reason why he got banned from Major League Baseball.
Gotcha. And how long has he been in jail for?
Well, the summary does not say anything about him being locked up in the big house.
Wait, you said he got pardoned.
Well, Trump is wanting to pardon him.
Of what? Being
The president said he would sign a pardon for Rose over the next few weeks. He did not say what the pardon would cover. Rose served 5 months in prison after pleading guilty to tax evasion charges in 1990.
okay, so he served 5 months like
Yeah,
recently.
he went he spent 5 months in prison for tax evasion.
Okay, and he confessed to that like in modern day times, or like in modern times.
Well, he pleaded guilty at the time he was being convicted for tax evasion.
Okay, so he spent 5 months in prison back then,
Yes.
and I'm still trying to wonder what he's getting pardoned for now.
Well,
I just assumed he was in prison now.
actually, he actually passed away in September 2024 of natural causes, so he's not even alive anymore.
What are you pardoning him for then?
That's crazy.
May God rest his soul, but what are you pardoning him for?
Probably the months he spent in jail for tax evasion.
He's not here anymore.
There's no point.
There's no point in that. Like, bro, pardoning him for? He's not here anymore. With all
That
due,
makes no. This is funny.
with all, with
There's no way.
all due respect, I don't know where if he went up or down. But may God rest his soul. He's not here anymore. So, but I mean, are you helping out his recent family members who are still alive? Like, I'm confused.
Who knows?
Like, you might as well just do something to like. You might as well just reach out to his family members who are still
Still
alive
alive.
and help them out or something. I don't know. But how old was he when he passed?
He
Wait,
was 83 when he passed.
okay, when he passed like this year.
No, it was well, not this year 25, last year, in the September 2024.
Okay, so you're pardoning an old guy who's not even with us anymore.
And for 5 months for tax evasion. He was already let go by then. After those 5 months. Oh my.
God rest his soul. But man, like, bro, you should have been. Actually, no, he wasn't even in office before, but still, I don't know. When you were in the White House, you should have been pardoning him when he was still.
Oh,
That's all I'm
yeah.
gonna say.
Why now is this a thing? Why now is Trump going to pardon a baseball player that's not going to live anymore, and especially for 5 months that he's already spent in prison?
You know, maybe Trump still thinks he's alive in his heart.
All right, fair enough, but still, in reality,
Yeah,
he's not with us anymore.
that's true. That is extremely true. I guess Trump is pardoning people who are no longer here. I don't really know what else to say from this. This is just kind of dumb if you think about it. I mean, like, the guy's not here anymore.
Yeah. I mean, then again, there's nothing that says about pardoning people that aren't alive. I don't recall anything going against that.
Look, if I was convicted of something and I needed pardon, just help my family out. If I'm not here anymore, because there's nothing I can do with that pardon. It has no use to me. I'm not here anymore, so there's no use that can do for me. There's nothing that can do for me. I'm not here anymore. So just help out my family or something. Help out my wife. That's if I had a wife and she was still alive, help her out. Help out my kids and my future descendants. Help them out. I don't need help anymore. I'm in a better place now. But yeah, anyways, a weird pardoning for a person who's not with us anymore. But
And there's already served his time, so yeah.
exactly, he already served his time. He did his time.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, weird pardoning, but okay. I suppose it's newsworthy. But
Yeah.
in other news, Pope Francis. Pope Francis faces health setback with 2 episodes of acute re- respiratory failure. That is acute respiratory failure. I'm not gonna lie, this man. Okay, Pope Francis just needs to retire at this point.
Well, I'm not saying it should happen. However, I do believe it's at some point, more recently, maybe time has come. Maybe it's time for a new pope to arise.
I mean, like, just hearing this is like Pope Francis had a health setback with 2 episodes of acute respiratory failure. The vacation, the vac- the Vatican announced Monday. And when I hear this, I'm like, bro, this man is on the brink of death. Like, I mean, I don't want to say that, but it's true. I mean, he needs to retire. Like, for one, he needs to retire as the Pope. Not even worry about that. And like insert a temporary Pope until he's either able to come back or just something. Like, or he just simply needs to retire from it. I mean, his time is up. Just like John Cena, his time is up. The last time is now. But for the most part, yeah, no, he needs to take a break. And I don't know, he kind of just needs to embrace it. Embrace the fact that he's an older gentleman, he's not able to move like he used to. And I don't know, I don't know. If I was on the verge of death, man, I would kind of train up. I would have someone train up a new pope, or just like tell the new pope to like take my spot for probably for as long as he has to take it. And then, well, you know what? No, I'd retire there. I would retire there, especially if my health was declining. I'd probably say a couple of things here and there, but I would not be just hoping. I would just in the face, living as much as I possibly can until God gets it. Until God says, all right, They're coming home with me. But yeah, it's like for the most part, yeah, no, he needs to retire. I'm not gonna lie, these stories alone are
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
he's an old, he's an old guy. He's an old guy, and he needs to like just sit back, take a break, take a breather, and just not be as involved as he is. As Bitcoin surges 20% in 3 days, Trump makes a big crypto promise. Really? Just last week, Bitcoin was deep in the red. It came around $80,000, but in a dramatic turnaround, the leading cryptocurrency has surged over $1,400,000, thanks in large part to President Donald Trump. Over the weekend, Trump announced plans to create a strategic crypto reserve, shifting gears from his earlier promise to stockpile Bitcoin. Well, I'm not really an investor in cryptocurrency, but that's great to hear for all the other cryptocurrency investors. That's good news for everyone
Yeah.
because they put their trust in Trump. They trust, both sadly and unfortunately. And I know there's some fortunate, but I'm saying like complete trust in him. He's the savior in their eyes. He can do no wrong. Anyways, Tim Walz thinks he has the right skill set to run for president in 2020. Really?
Well, I haven't heard him in a while.
The guy who wanted to put tampons, the guy who put tampons in men's bathrooms, says that he has the right skill set to run president. Now, I'm not going to knock him based off of that one thing. He probably does, but ultimately speaking, his mind is corrupted. And he says, look, I never had an ambition to be president or vice president. I was honored to be asked, he said. If I feel like I can serve, I will. And if naturally people are like, dude, we tried you. And look how that worked out. I'm good with it. Anyways, would you were to vote for Tim Walz, Jame?
Mm,
But he's such a great guy, you know? He was
how is
the
he a great guy?
I mean his highlight said failed president candidate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz might run for president in 2020. That was it. He's a great guy. He didn't fail. He's a great guy because he's the governor for Minnesota. I mean, he wanted to help out so many guys who wanted to use tampons.
And how's
In
it
the,
going in Minnesota right now?
I have no idea.
Then what are you on about then? How can you say he's going to be the next president if you don't know what he's done in Minnesota? He has
Well,
his
look,
chance to show what he can do, but there's not much going right now at the moment.
look. He was excited. He was passionate, and on top of that, he was a very masculine man, unlike Trump.
I'm not so sure about that last part.
I mean, come on, think about it. Tim Walz, President of the United States. No, does this not sound good? President Walz.
No,
He's going to waltz his way into the office.
that joke's gonna get overused at some point.
So, matter of fact, yo, if he does run for president, he should end.
I mean, someone's gonna use it if he's not gonna use it.
Yeah. Now, I mean, he might have waltzed his way out of the vice presidential election, but he's going to waltz his way back into the White House. Not even back into the White House. Um, yeah, he's going to waltz. Matter of fact, if he uses that pun, give me some credit. I mean, I wouldn't, back to the serious matter, I wouldn't vote for him. But if he uses that joke, if he actually runs for president, quote unquote, give me some credit. Waltzing America back into waltzing America back into the right direction. That's not as good, but it's decent. Or waltzing into the office, something like that. Like these are good jokes.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the best, but they're good. Anyways, yeah. As I was saying, I already said he's not. I wouldn't vote for him. So like, yeah, no. Yeah, but like, I don't really know what's going on in a minute. But you wouldn't vote for him though?
No, he's not my
But
kind of guy, you know?
I mean, but he's like more. I'm not going to pretend to defend this guy. Yeah, you're right. He's not my type of guy either. But yeah, no, he said he might run for president, but Kamala might run for president also. Speaking of which, what's Kamala been up
Well, the last time I remember, I remember Kamala Harris gave a speech. I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff, so I wasn't too sure what it was about. But I know that Trump did mention Kamala Harris said it was, well, you can guess what Trump said about Kamala Harris and what kind of setup this could have been and so on and so forth.
I could probably take a hint, yeah. I could probably guess what he said. But apparently, Mr. Waltz and Mrs. Harris don't talk much. The
Hmm.
governor and his former running mate have spoken only a couple times since November's election. Waltz revealed to the New Yorker's David Remnick in an interview published Sunday. That's why the pair didn't call or text more frequently. 2024 Democrat Vice President nominee joked, well, maybe she doesn't want to talk to me after we got this thing done. He added that they left in a good place and that his daughter Hope missed her greatly. Cool. Don't care. Yeah, that's not interesting at all. But it's news. It's news regardless, and so therefore. And why am I now seeing more posts about Tim Walz? I don't care for Tim Walz. No offense. But anyway, what else is in the news?
At least 25 undercover agents in the UK had sexual relationships with activists they spied on.
Really? Wait, hold on. You said like who had
Yeah,
sexual?
yeah,
Who?
25 undercover agents in the UK had sexual relationships with activists they spied on. Yeah, if that's what goes on, then man, that's just
That's probably
sad.
why they. You know what? Did they ever stop the protest?
Well, multiple women formed long-term intimate relationships with undercover police officers, unaware that these men were secretly spying on them and their
Wait,
social circles.
wait, what? Wait, is that why they had sex with them? To spy on them?
Well, yeah, that's one part of the story.
I mean, they might be. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but they're very committed to their jobs if they're gonna have sex with these activists. Were they at least attracted to them? I mean, long-term relationships, just to spy on a group.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine saying, "Honey, I'm home," after a long day of spying on your spouse. Nah, I'm not gonna lie. After a long day of, saying, "Oh, hey, honey, how was the office?" Like, "Oh, it was good, just, Bobby, Boston dance, and, yeah, and the office was good." And they both leave for work on this at the same time, or I'll be honest, I don't even know if these activists are even actually working. Like, do they get paid to do this, or are they just doing this on their free time?
Well, I suspect if these protests are ongoing, and they've been going on for years, I'd be surprised they don't get paid for what they're doing.
I'm assuming that some of them probably have a social media presence. I'm going to assume that.
Yeah, yeah, of course they'll have social media presence.
Okay, so they probably get paid from that. I'm assuming.
Yeah, they'll get paid from social media stuff, but in terms of pay for actual protesting in real life, there has to be some other expense going into that, because there's no way for protesters to go out on the streets, roads, or whatever community and get nothing out of it.
We'll say this still. The very fact that you have a spouse that's spying on you, getting paid to spy on you is crazy. And you don't even know that. And they don't even know that. That's the funny. Imagine, just coming home from work after a long day of spying on your girl, which sounds creepy in of itself, but if you're getting paid to do it, it's less creepy. No, it's still creepy. But intimate,
It doesn't matter, it's still creepy regardless.
yeah, it is. I'll be honest, I don't even think the intimate relationships are even needed. I think they just want to do that. I really don't think the sex is even needed. You can easily just spy on these people, or just pretend to be an activist yourself. Like, you don't even need to have sex with these people to spy on them. Like, no, they said no. We're committed to our job. We're not just doing this for the pleasure. We're doing this because we care. That was their attitude. That's their attitude towards it. But anyways, yeah. On to the next news. What else is there?
Why Claudia Winkleman is presenting the Graham Norton show as host missing. Why Claudia Winkleman is presenting the Graham Norton show as host missing.
The host is missing.
Yes,
Do we know anything more about the host and why they're missing? Or might
yes.
be missing?
Claudia Winkleman will be filling in for Graham Norton on the BBC chat show.
Huh. Due to the host missing. I mean, is it described what the host is missing from?
Yeah, being present.
No, I mean, like, being present, I know that. I mean, like, is it described on, like, the condition of the host and why they're missing?
Well, I'm looking into it now. All I know is, in a nutshell, it is likely that Graham Norton may not be the host of the Graham Norton show anymore. It could be Claudia Winkleman. Maybe they may rename it to the Claudia Winkleman show, because that's how the system works for the BBC chat show. There has to be some changes relating to the host in question.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, I do hope the host gets returned. So that's very unfortunate, but if they don't return, I hope that they're doing okay regardless. But either way, there's not really much you can do about it until like the hosts themselves come back or just either, announce their official departure. And there's not really much you can do about that. So just hoping and the host is the host like who was there before. But is there anything else in there?
Amanda Holden addresses quote unquote, or at least quote, complaints after on-air mistake.
On air mistake?
Yes.
What was this on air mistake? What did she do?
After her unfortunate blunder live on air earlier this week, the Britain's Got Talent judge, Amanda Holden, has now addressed the error after a number of messages from Hot Breakfast listeners.
What was the mistake that she
Let's see what
was
Gloucestershire
it?
Live has to say about this.
Wardrobe malfunction? What was it?
I'm looking into it now. Let's see. Quite the mispronunciation, which came out with an Australian accent and a ch sound at the end. Amanda lightheartedly assured listeners, knew what I meant. I got an A level in English, believe it or not, she says.
A level in English. Okay, so pretty much she mispronounced a specific word with her accent, and people got upset about it, and so therefore she's not to address it. Correct?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. So therefore everything is resolved, everything is okay, or it will be resolved, and it will be okay.
Yeah, the world keeps spinning.
That's true. The world will definitely keep spinning, and the world will keep going. So therefore, no biggie,
No big deal.
pretty much.
It
Okay,
happens to all of us.
it does. And, some of us struggle with English, shockingly. And for the most part, yeah, it happens to the best of us. So therefore, nothing to worry about. She's good. She'll bounce back. Especially if she's pretty. She'll be okay. But, is there anything else in the news?
Mum and daughter, 10, both transitioned to become father and son.
Oh, wait, say that one more time?
Influencer mum and daughter both transitioned to become father and son.
Wait, what? What? Hold on. Daughter and mother both transition to become father and son?
Yeah.
Why?
A mum and her 10-year-old daughter have both
Ten,
transitioned to become
10-year-old
father.
daughter. 10-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
Did the 10-year-old daughter even know what this was? Or did the mother decide, I want to be a man and this is going to be my son?
Yeah, that's my concern too.
Bro, they're all mentally ill. Bro, that's all I'm going to say. The mother is the mother is solely responsible for this because she encouraged this and she changed her perfectly fine young lady into a young man. Either way, it's all right. Well, no, it's not all right. But either way, it's like, what do you have to say about that?
Well, there comes a point in life we hear about moments that, of course, we have every right to disagree, that we go against such ideas, and of course, we question, why do people make these decisions? Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but of course, I do have concerns. And I know not a lot of people are going to be happy about hearing this, but it has to be asked regardless.
Yeah, that's
What?
true.
Yeah. Okay, like, the mother, she's old enough to make her own choices. I can't argue with that. But the 10-year-old daughter, or, well, transitioned into a son, well, I'm not encouraging or disencouraging. However, if a child's body is still developing, like most children's body does, give it a few years before thinking about transitioning. Because we never going to know what's going to happen as you grow up. What complications might happen. Like, subtracting the decision of the transition in question, there has to be some consideration and looking into what complications someone could have before someone considers making that decision.
That's true. I mean, you're ultimately gonna have complications. You're ultimately going to have complications in the future. And ultimately speaking, yeah, it's just it's unfortunate. In all seriousness though, I will say this: I blame the mother. I don't blame the daughter. I blame the mother for influencing her daughter and encouraging her daughter to go through with this. Because ultimately speaking, a child's mind is not developed at like 10 years old. So I'm not going to blame the daughter. It's not even, it wouldn't even be the daughter's fault regardless.
Yeah,
It's the mother's fault for encouraging this and potentially even influencing it. Yeah, it's ultimately her fault. And yeah, so if anyone should be locked up, it's the mother. Because, like, she wanted to instill her mental illness on her young 10-year-old daughter. And yeah, she wanted to project her mental illness on her daughter. So therefore, it's like she's the one to blame. It's not the daughter's fault. I hope the daughter gets the right treatment. Well, first off, I hope the daughter gets taken away from her, or son gets taken away from her. Like, why would you do that? Second off, I hope that nothing bad comes of this daughter transitioning, which unfortunately it might. And ultimately speaking, all we can really do is pray and hope that this young this young lady is okay by the time she turns 18. And by the time I just also you can ultimately just have to pray that she comes to her senses at like 15, and then like she can realize her mother did something wrong to her that can be that can be fixed with surgery and God. So that's what they both need. Because ultimately speaking, you find your identity in something, then you stick to it, but ultimately it does not give you any form of comfort or satisfaction. So for the most part, the mother needs serious therapy, and that's all I gotta say about that. But is there anything else in the news?
macOS 15.4 Beta 2 brings all new mail app and more AI languages.
Is there more on that?
Yes, Apple follows macOS 15.4 beta testing with its second build for developers. This version brings Apple Intelligence improvements and is a bit more feature-packed than the previous macOS 15.3 update.
Interesting. That definitely sounds interesting. What are your thoughts? Yeah, same here. That's really all I gotta say about that. Sounds cool. So therefore, looking forward to what they're gonna do. So, is there anything else in the news?
Country music star Brad Paisley's world tour to make pit stop in Richmond.
Pit stop in Richmond, huh?
Yep,
Cool.
yeah,
I mean, there's not really much I can say about that, but cool. You
yeah,
know,
good for him.
it is good for them. I mean, in Richmond, radical,
Yeah,
fascinating. I think I've heard of it. Either way, what else in the news or
I think that's us.
okay?